Sorry ass DJ.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there? And welcome to my continuation of the Victim's Death. I am on Friday the 13th, part 7, New Blood. I think everybody already kind of knows that this is the one that was butchered out of all of the Friday the 13th movies, which really sucks thanks to the MPAA, but again, you know what, there's a reason why they're actually there, but I'm not here to defend them one bit. This is one of the ones where I'm like, I wish they would have been a little nicer so we could have actually enjoyed what the true kills and deaths were supposed to be in this one here. So when it comes to this list, there are 16 deaths, but I'm only doing 15 spots because I'm not including Tina's dad at the beginning of this movie here, because he comes back at the very end. He saves the day, which is fine that he's the one that saves the day and pulls Jason back to his watery grave. But just the way that he looks is a little bit of mud on his cheeks and maybe his forehead. He looks like he was under the water for like 10 minutes, not for 10 years, because you think that he wouldn't look like a normal human being in 10 years being in his own watery grave. Now, definitely give me a comment of what your favorite one really is. I know a lot of people probably will say the sleeping bag kill. Number 15 is going to be Eddie. Now, with Eddie, we have him and Melissa. They're actually making out. It turns out that she was actually just using him to make someone else jealous. He finally realizes it maybe a couple minutes into the scene. He walks away, but the next time we actually see him, he's actually in the living room. He sees all these presents, which they're not for him. They're actually for Nick's cousin, Michael, that we'll talk about later on. When we finally get Jason walking up to Eddie, he actually looks up thinking it's Melissa. Jason has the machete, does this, they cut off and they show Jason's face. But even when Nick gets to the aftermath later on, it looks like he only has like a couple little cuts on his neck there, and that's all the machete actually did there. And I gotta say, that's definitely a very weak death, which a lot of these actually will be. So number 14 is going to be Jane. You got her and you got Michael, and they have some car trouble. So they're walking through the woods, and Michael's like, okay, well, why don't we just find a place to camp out? She spills the beans about the surprise party. So he's like, okay, you know what, before we go any further, let me go take a piss. So she's just kind of standing around, has her arms folded, like, 'cause she's cold. She's like, come on, Michael, hurry up. So Jason comes behind her, puts his hand over her mouth there, and all we do is we see his hand do this. We don't even know what the weapon is, but then it actually turns out he actually had like a metal pole or a metal spear and gets her, and I'm assuming maybe in the back of the head, I don't know, and we have a little bit of blood that goes on to Jason's hand. But then when Michael comes back, she's like leaning on the tree, and Jason pulls out the metal pole. She falls and Jason starts chasing him. Number 13 is a character named David. Him and Robin just finished up having sex, and he was actually getting hungry, and I know she says, how romantic. So he ends up putting his pants on, gives her a flashlight because the lights actually went out. He goes down to the kitchen, he opens up the refrigerator looking to see what he's going to do. Jason walks behind him. David turns around thinking it's Robin. Jason stabs him in the stomach, and the guy just goes down. Number 12 is going to be Sandra. Now, her and her boyfriend Russell, they're walking outside at night on the beach, and she decides to say, hey, let's do a little bit of night swimming. So the thing is that she goes close to the water. She takes off her clothes there. Russell's wondering what she's doing. And then by the time that she's already in the water, he already maybe gets like one button of his shirt, and that's it. But we'll get to him when we get to him. So with her, after she actually sees that Russell is dead, Jason is in the water, and she's trying to swim away. She's having trouble, and Jason grabs her by one of her legs and yanks her down and drowns her. Now, it's an okay death, but it's just such a ripoff of Jaws. You know, you just switch the shark to zombie Jason, and that's pretty much the same thing. Number 11 is going to be Dr. Cruz. That after he gets into a little argument with Tina, and Tina's like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, she runs away, and he decides to go a different way. He finally decides to stop. He's leaning on the tree. He's like, I don't know if I can run anymore. Well, he didn't say that. That's what I'm thinking. So all of a sudden, you hear a noise in the background. He looks over his shoulder, and Jason actually had a bush cutter. So he goes up to Dr. Cruz and pushes him with one palm, and the guy flips like once or twice, and Jason just kind of like nicks his stomach, and the guy's head just goes back, and I'm like, oh, that little thing just nicked him like he got a paper cut. Yeah, bullshit there. Thanks, MPAA. Number 10 is going to be a character named Robin. She actually gets scared by a cat, and then all of a sudden she's looking out the window, and then she sits down, thinking about, hey, whose cat is this? So she actually sees that there's a severed head, which, if I am correct, I believe was David. So she's actually freaking out, and Jason runs into the room pretty much. Well, I shouldn't say runs, but to a point. And she's trying to escape. He actually grabs her and throws her out of a window, and she just goes out and lands. But it's up pretty much like this was a ripoff of a death in the final chapter. And I get that, you're going to rip off your own deaths from your own franchise. That's cool. But in that one, that was really good stunt. In this one, I didn't care almost one thing for this one here. I mean, I'm a sucker for being pushed out of a window, but even the stunt alone, whenever she falls onto the ground, I'm like, Number 9 is going to be Miss Shepherd. Her and Dr. Cruz were looking for Tina because Tina ran away because she overheard those two actually talking. While they're in the woods, they can't find Tina, but they do come upon Jason, and they're running and they're running and running. So finally, the thing is, they both stop because they need a breather. Jason comes right behind Mrs. Shepherd. Dr. Cruz decides to hold her and pretty much sacrifice her, while Jason has a big spear and stabs her in the back there, and a little bit of blood goes onto Cruz's face. And this is what Tina sees later on and wondering whose blood that was, and it turned out, of course, it was actually her mother's there. And I'm like, another one that is okay, or disappointing death. Number 8 is going to be Maddie. So with Maddie, she decides to get herself all glammed up, and she's going outside and she's looking for a particular person, and then all of a sudden she loses her ear. She actually has her hands down on the ground, and she does find her earring. She sees Jason, and then she actually runs into like a little bit of a cabin or whatever. Actually, I think it was sort of like a storage thing for like tools. So she runs in this place, and Jason follows her, and she actually crawls kind of like a little bit of a crawl space here, and she's hiding behind this one wall. And at one point, we think that maybe Jason has no idea where she is and looks like he's about to walk away, but he ends up picking up a sickle. So what happens is, while she's actually trying to figure out, oh boy, can I get out of this situation, Jason has one of his hands go through this wall and holding on to her, and then his other hand with the sickle goes through the wall, and then does this, and then cuts away outside to the building while she's screaming. Now, I do like the build up to that there, but then I wish that they would have at least showed at least her being stabbed, even if they're not going to show the whole thing or showing any blood at all. At least showing that maybe would have put her up a little higher. Number 7 is Kate. Now we have Kate and Ben. They're actually in a van. They're making out. The van starts shaking a little bit, and Ben decides to kind of go out, and he's thinking it might be Michael. He actually gets disposed of, and we'll get to him when we get to him here. But with Kate, she ends up going to from the back of the van to the front, then the driver's side, sticks her head out, and the Ben, where are you? Jason grabs her from the back of the head. He actually has what I guess they call a Purdy horn, and he actually shoves it right into one of her eyes. Because when they first show it, it's kind of a very quick death there, but even when we get the aftermath, it's just an okay thing. But at least the reason why I have it up a little higher is because I kind of like the weapon of choice. Number 6 is Michael, the birthday boy. After he sees that Jane's dead and he's running away from Jason, and Jason just walking, Jason still uses that same metal pole, and he throws it at Michael's back, and Michael goes down, and he's crawling while he's screaming. Jason eventually does get up to this guy. He picks up the metal spear and lifts this guy up, and then just tosses him like he's trash. And I'm like, yeah, this is a little bit on the better side here. I would probably say, if not K, at least this one I did kind of actually enjoy there, even though it was just a quick lifting up. It's still pretty messed up. Number 5 is going to be Russell. With Russell, he's actually trying to get himself taken off his clothes. Sandra's already swimming naked in the water there. Jason comes around the corner of this tree here. He has an axe. Russell sees him, gets startled, and starts kind of walking back a couple steps. And Jason just hits this guy's face. And when they do the quick reveal of the death, his face is like split like a hot dog, and I think that looked really, really good. What we actually get of that definitely deserved to be in the top 5 because his face being split, just like that one woman who gets a laser in the mouth in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and her mouth splits open, almost kind of like that. At least they, wasn't afraid to show that in that movie compared to, hey, here's a quick little shot here, but I still liked it enough. Number 4 is going to be Ben. He just gets out of the van. He has the party horn, and he's blowing it a couple times. Jason comes and actually, grabs this guy from the top of the head and his chin, and he squeezes this guy, and you get blood coming out of his forehead and actually the rest of his face there. And he looked like he was going to fucking crush him, like you step on those aluminum cans before recycling. And I was like, damn, that was definitely a good one. Number 3 is Dan. Now, he's not even really in it that much here, but he's actually with the woman who gets Judy, who gets the sleeping bag kill, which we haven't got to that one there yet. He goes out to actually get more wood for the fire there, and so actually while he's got a bunch of wood in his hand and he's carrying it and he's walking back to where the tent would be and all that, Jason comes, has like his fist, puts it through his back, through his stomach there, and then turns the guy's head and breaks his head and drops him down. And this is where Jason gets the machete there. And I thought that was messed up. Number 2 is going to be Judy, the sleeping bag kill here. So yes, I do have one more better than the sleeping bag kill. So with her, she's thinking that Dan's coming back, and Jason ends up slicing with the machete the tent, and she screams. She actually hides in the sleeping bag. So Jason grabs the sleeping bag and drags her out, and the thing is that he ends up finally picking it up and hitting her body on a tree there. Now, I heard that in the original uncut, he was supposed to do that like 5 times. Maybe that would have been overkill for me, and if they would have left that one in, maybe this would have not been up as high, because I thought, okay, we get it, hitting her against the tree, but 5 times, I don't know. I thought that was actually a really good kill, and I understand that people really do enjoy that one there, but my number 1 is got to be Melissa. So you get Melissa. She's actually, I guess, in Tina's cabin. Nick actually sees her and says, hey, by the way, do not go to the other cabin. Eddie's dead. The rest of them are all dead. Tina walks into her own cabin there and they're saying, he's dead. I got him. He killed my mother, but I got Jason is dead, which wasn't, of course, true at that moment. Melissa thinks that they're both fucking crazy and says, you know what? Fuck both of you there. Goes to the front door, opens it up. There's Jason. Tina almost jumps out of the seat that she was sitting in, and she's screaming, and Jason has the axe, and boom, hits Melissa in the axe, and then grabs her, I think maybe by the shoulder, and tosses her over one of those big TVs. That was it. I just really liked that. There's no blood in this at all, but just being hit in the head with an axe, I just thought that was just messed up enough there. So there you guys go. So thank you guys so much for checking out my victims ranking here for Friday the 13th Part 7, the New Blood here, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have yourselves a good one. Bye.